no, Poland, there we are. Washed between Germany and Ukraine and Belarus with a teeny bit of Russia at the top. And I didn't know that was there, actually. Lithuania there. Poland's got a very complicated history. It's been pushed and moved and chopped up and belonging to different parts of Europe times. But it's quite a big country, actually. Population, I think it's about 40 million, something like that. But anyway, there you go. There it is geographically. For our A, we have Arthur Rubinstein, who was born in Lodz in 1887, died in 1982, the age of 95. Very famous pianist, and he was considered to be one of the greatest performers of Chopin's work. This inevitably there'll be some kind of historical, political stuff in Poland, but this is the entrance to Auschwitz, Birkenau, which was in fact a what was the word? Congregation. There were 40 different camps around Auschwitz at one time, and they housed Jews, Poles, Romanis, Soviets too. So anybody who was kind of against the Nazi regime.
And disabled as well, I think. Disabled people as well.
Yeah, and gay people as well, yeah. And it was a chilling thing that over the gate it says Arbeit macht frei, which means, as you probably know, work makes you free. But was anything but, I guess. It's quite close to the city of Krakow, and now it's a kind of museum where people can go and have a look. B, I struggled with, so I cheated. So I've got Isaac Bashevis singer. He was a famous Polish-American Jewish writer, wrote mainly in Yiddish. And he wrote lots of stories about novels, short stories, children's stories. Much of it about his childhood in Poland. I don't know if they moved because of a pogrom or whatever, but I think he spent most. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1978. Okay, who's this handsome divil?
Chopin?
Chopin, yeah, Frederick Chopin. Born in 1810 in Zelezowa Wola. I hope nobody's there connecting my Polish pronunciation because I have no idea how to say these things, but I'm just doing my best. But there he is, Frederick Chopin, with the flowing hair and the glaring eyes. And there he is in Manchester. You'll all recognize this statue on Dean's Gate, presumably.
Where is it, Graham? I've never seen it.
It's opposite the Rylands Library on Dean's Gate.
Oh, never.
Well, you probably walk past it, but it's not small. It's not like a tiny thing. But
oh dear.
Walk with your eyes on the ground. Yeah, and I think this is probably. Well, I don't know who this is actually, but I've got a feeling it might be.
George Sand.
I think it's Jenny Lind actually. But,
isn't it George Sand? I thought that.
Well, it could be, but I think it commemorates Chopin's series of concerts at the Gentleman's Concert Hall in Manchester, which I talked about.
Oh,
which is now where the Midland Hotel is, and at the same time, Jenny Lind did some performances as well. So I might be wrong. I don't know. I'll check it out. But I've got a feeling you're quite right. It could possibly also be Georges Sand, his famous French writer, close friend. Okay.
It's a dreadful statue. What on earth is she sitting on? And
Well, I don't think it's meant to be too realistic, you
I
know.
don't know. It just sort of doesn't fit together somehow. It's weird.
Well, next time
I'm
you're
only
in,
grumpy because I've missed it. Don't worry. I just think
considering somebody's walked past it several times and not
I know.
noticed.
I know.
But anyway, there we go. Okay. D is for dom, which is the Polish word for a house. So this is a kind of country cottage with a thatch roof, which I think is rather pretty, but maybe not that wonderful to live in. I don't know, but there's the kind of good. And this is the more familiar type of household in cities in Poland, where people live in apartments in bigger blocks. Rather nice. I like the way they're all painted different colours. Okay, E is for Poland's very religious country, allegedly the most strongest Roman Catholic country in the world. And Easter is a time for eating and celebrating. So this is the kind of Polish food. People get dressed up, traditional, rather attractive costumes, aren't they?
Lovely.
Well, the women's are.
Yeah, I like his hat. It's good.
I could see you in that, Graham.
Yeah, you reckon? Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, well,
Although the
I'll
trousers do
work
look
on
a
it.
bit-
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll knit you one.
Okay. Oh, that kind of Easter eggs are a big deal, and that's the moving on to F is for farming, which is a big thing in Poland. It's the EU's largest provider of. Sorry, I need to do that.
Oh.
Of apples. They've got lots of orchards apparently, and it's the biggest provider in the EU of poultry and apples. But it also they have lots of potatoes and vegetables and cereals and stuff. So it's a very big farming community. This is a typical Polish farm. Where are we? G. Oh yeah, G is for Gdansk, which is the main port of Poland on the Baltic. It's also apparently the centre of, I didn't know this actually, the amber trade, amber jewellery and stuff. For whatever reason, the local petrified trees or whatever produce some of the world's best amber, apparently. I know you find it in different parts of the world, but you can get green, red, yellow, blue, brown, or orange amber for jewellery. It's quite expensive, actually, the good stuff. Most common colour is that kind of yellowy gold colour, but if you're looking for amber, head over to Gdansk. They will set you up. Okay.
What was the ship, Graham? It looked really interesting. That was in the harbour.
I don't know. I hold my hands up. I think it's just one of those tourist things that they have. It doesn't look real to me. It looks like a mock-up of an old sailing
Pirate
ship.
ship in Disney or something.
It's
Yeah.
probably from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes. But you could probably go on tours, right? I can't remember. What's the river it's on? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I can't remember. Okay, H is for heroism. It's a convoluted one. This is a chap called Witold Polecki, who was the only inmate to be voluntarily imprisoned at Auschwitz, i.e. he made sure that he was arrested and he worked for the Polish Underground, and he spent 2.5 years there gathering information about Auschwitz itself. He was born in 1901. He was a Catholic, and after Poland was defeated by the Nazis, he joined the Polish Underground. Ironically, he was executed in 1948 by the Soviets because he was still working against anti-Polish powers. Okay, but he was a true hero, I should say.
That's a pink triangle he had.
Sorry.
Was that a pink triangle? he
No,
had?
I don't think so. Oh yes, it is. But he was, which is odd because that's the symbol for a gay person, isn't it? In the Nazi thing. But I think something to do with the way the triangles are either inverted or I think whatever. Anyway, I don't think he was a gay person. He was a married man with family. But anyway, there you go. What have I got to next? Oh yeah, invasion. I is for invasion. Yeah, I really am scraping the barrel here, aren't I? Poland has been invaded 43 times over the centuries. Surprisingly, the first invasion was by the Mongols in the 13th century, but invaded by the Swiss, Russians, God knows who else. In the 18th century, it was split between Russia, Prussia, and Austria. And then World War I came along, and it was, and of course, World War II taken over by the Germans, then occupied by the Russians. So it's had a very kind of troubled history in lots of ways. But, okay, K is for. No, it's not. It's J, isn't it? J is for Joseph. Joseph Conrad, the famous writer who was a kind of Polish-British guy. He wrote mostly in English, but fantastic writer as far as I'm concerned. Amazing stuff. The Secret Agent, I think, is a brilliant, brilliant novel. But you know, Heart of Darkness, not straight. That Lord Jim. Settled in England, but Polish-born. Okay. K is for kielbasa, which is a kind of Polish sausage, cooked here in a stew. Very fun, and it's pork and smoked, and also you might recognise the cabanos, which I quite like actually. You can buy those in UK quite easily. In fact, it's quite easy to buy Polish food in England these days because of recent immigration and stuff and settlement. Okay, who is this guy?
Lech Walesa.
Lech Walesa. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's immediately recognisable. Born in 1943, President of Poland in 1990 to 95. And he was the first ever Polish president elected by popular vote. He won the Nobel Prize in 1983, and he's still with us. Looking very relaxed with his pipe and his distinguished moustache. And, you know, there's some information about him in The Guardian as he won the Nobel Prize. I can't say what that joke is, nothing to do with it. Okay. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy, but he was a very famous pianist. I remember my grandmother talking about, I don't know, it was a niece of hers who used to play the piano, and she used to say she thinks she's Paderewski, but there you go. It's kind of my grandma being rather mean. 1860 to 19. Well, not ironically, but strangely, he was also the Prime Minister of Poland for a period, and he was the gentleman who, Polish representative, who signed the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. There you go. He's a bit of a rock star in his day. You can see that about him, can't you? Really, that kind of the wild hair and the staring eyes. But there we go. Okay, I've forgotten what this. Oh, I know. Leopold Stokowski. He was the music man behind the film What This Is Fantasia. I don't know if so I like this film. I loved it when I was a kid anyway, but I don't know if anybody else was. But he was the guy who did the music, and there he is. Another Bernard look-alike, really. Are you sure you're not Polish, Bernard?
Maybe. I go to Polski Skleps, which is Polish shops nearby.
There you go. You see, it must be in your blood somewhere. I think that's a fantastic photograph, actually. Okay. Yeah, anyway, there
It
you go.
almost looks computer generated, doesn't it? It's very.
Yeah, but I don't know, you just get a feeling of his intensity, don't you? And I love black and white photographs anyway, but there we go. Okay, talking of black and white photographs, we're on P now. Paula Negri. None of you will remember her, I don't think, but she was an absolute massive film star in the 1920s. She was born in 1897. She died in 1987, which is a nice swap round of the digits. She was a goddess of the silent movie, tragedian, femme fatale. Her films were called Passion, Forbidden Power, Carmen, and Madame du Barry were the famous ones, but it's a great face. But there you go. Paula Negri. Okay. P is also for polka, which arguably is Czech, but also there is a kind of a crossover between Poland and parts of Czechoslovakia, so we can allow the Polish to be partly responsible for the polka. And polka is actually a Polish word anyway, and it means, I think it means the girl or something like that. So there you go. Nice little poster anyway. Got that see. Oh, okay. Oh, the Opera House. One of the grandest buildings in Warsaw is the Opera House, which seems to have survived Warsaw's destruction. This is how it looked in the turn of the last century. So it hasn't changed very much. It's still very grand and beautiful. Okay. Then we have pierogi, which are Polish speciality, like small dumplings filled with sweet or savory certain centers. Very tasty. I used to have a friend whose mum was Polish, and she used to make them especially for us when we were kids. They're really nice. Okay, Q. I've got for Queen again. Actually, Jadwiga. She was the first woman to be crowned. Something like 1373 or something like that. She was born in 1380. No, she couldn't have been. Anyway, she was crowned as queen, but it says here King of Poland, which I thought was quite interesting, really. Allow her to be, because she was this, she wasn't the wife of the king, she was actually the ruler of Poland. So there we go. This is the largest church in Poland. It's not in Warsaw or a big city. It's in the village of Lodz, or the small town of Lodz. It is amazing size. It looks cross between a palace and a cathedral kind of thing. But there you go. That is the most revered Catholic church in Poland. Talking of which, Polish Pope Karol, whatever it is, who was in fact John Paul II. He was the Pope from 1978 to 2005. Quite a sort of liberal type of Pope compared with some of them. There he is in Heaton Park in Manchester. It came over in the early 80s. 250,000 people went to see him. There you go. It's a big deal for Catholics at that particular time. Oh, and this is the Polish church in Manchester, which some of you may know. It's I think it's in Moss Side, which is on the border of Moss Side and Russia.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, I pass it regularly actually, but it's a converted congregational chapel, but it's very important in the local Polish community. And it's always packed. I went past the other day on a bus, and there was a guy with a camera and somebody with a microphone, and there was all these guys dressed in Polish military uniforms actually outside. I don't know if they're making a program or so. And then I also went past at Easter, and there were all these hundreds of kids with baskets of, the eggs I showed you before, standing outside. So it's obviously a thriving church. It's on Moss Lane, on the way, on the edge of Moss Side in Russia. S is for Solidarność. We'll remember in the 80s, which was a Polish trade union, originated from the Lenin Shipyard in Gdansk. And it was the first independent trade union in any Warsaw Pact country. So, yeah. And there's a picture of its supporters. Impressive. Okay. I thought I couldn't really miss out Marie Curie, but of course I slipped her in as an S because she was born Marie Skłodowska in 1867 in Warsaw. So there we go. We all know about Marie Curie, but there's a reminder that she was actually Polish born and not French. Traditions. T is for tradition. Okay. Christmas Eve, Polish people leave an empty chair at the table. Christmas Eve is the big celebration in Poland for not Christmas Day. The big meal is on Christmas Eve, and they leave an empty chair in to remember people who have passed away in the year, which I think is quite a nice thought actually. Then they have say that Tlusty Fat Thursday, which is not. I guess it's the day before Lent, where they gorge on donuts. Apparently, are very popular in Poland, so they eat lots of donuts and fat things that are ready to fast for. And okay, and this is the drowning of Marzama, where they take a straw doll and it summons the spring by letting the winds drift away in the river. So I don't quite know how that works, but I just thought this was rather a cute little painting. So there we are. Okay. Oh yes, U is for uprising. Yeah. August to October 1944, the uprising was by the Polish underground tried to oust the German army, which was a disaster. And there were an amazing number of casualties, whatever you want to call them. And these are the Voivodeships, which Poland is divided into 16 administrative divisions. So they're all unpronounceable, but That's how it works. I suppose they're like counties in a way. Okay, this is Warsaw. As it now looks. A view of it. Mostly destroyed in the Second World War and rebuilt. X, as usual, is for Xmas, which is a big deal in Poland. I mean, there we go, that's this young lady celebrating. And they probably get lots of white Christmases there, so that's kind of nice. And why I couldn't find anything at all, so I settled for the yellow in the flag of Warsaw. That was all that
That's okay.
itself
Give-
is
give you that
quite,
one.
in itself, it's quite a nice, interesting.
Yeah.
Why it's got a mermaid on it, I don't know, but there we are. Okay. And Z is for zloty, which
Good one.
the currency of Poland, which they are not yet on the euro, for reasons which I think relate to the fact that one or two things in the EU rules they refuse to accept. So they've, until they accept these, they won't be allowed into the euro currency system. So they still have the zloty.
Like that.
Thank you.
Really interesting.
Pretty good. Yeah.
I've never been to Poland, sadly, because I've always wanted to, and we were booked to go on a train tour of around the cities of Poland in May 2020.
Oh dear.
Realised that
Yeah, not a good choice.
thing was cancelled and all the rest of it. So,
What a shame.
but I'm hoping that we can perhaps maybe next year. But then, of course, it's a troubled part on the edge of the troubled part of the world. So I don't know what
Yeah.
the situation is exactly, but it's always fascinated me, Poland. I don't know why, but there we are. So I mean, all these things are totally subjective. They're just things that I pick up